I say that the soul is a spoonful of the ocean out of the water, and that spoonful is far enough away from the ocean that it could turn around and look at the ocean and say, wow, that ocean is beautiful. And then you flip the spoon over and it goes back into that water. Can you find that spoonful of water? No, you can't, because it went back into the source. It was only separate from the source long enough to appreciate where it is it came from. So that's why I just appreciate the God in you.
Raised by the Almighty Al-Hadi from the time of birth, branched out in my adolescence to ask my own questions, expanded like Jupiter. Now I receive from living legends. My life is heaven, I look back on hell. To all my first sons, I wish them well. But if you're ever looking for the King of Kings, feel free to ring my bell. Peace.
How do you define spirituality? When you hear the thoughts in your mind, that conversation is more than physical. Granted, we can deal with it neurologically, we can deal with it cognitively, but really, truly, in the essence of it, is something so much more vivid than that. And that question mark, which will never be a period or an exclamation point, is spirituality. You know what I mean? That thing that you'll never really be able to put your finger on about what makes it more than that. But you can explore it enough to be like, all right, I kind of get how big the room is though.
How does spirituality relate to religion?
Religion is a humanization of spirituality. So like what we talked about, spirituality is that untangible question mark that'll never be an exclamation point. You just have a bunch of people that tried to make it into an exclamation point, that's all. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. All of your spiritual ideas and perspectives are coded in a lot of religious scripture in a format, in a way that delineates that particular culture from having control over how the narrative is engaged with. You know what I mean? But the narrative itself it's founded, it's mathematics. You mean? It's just that I'm going to write it with these things around it so that you do the math like this. The math is math. You cannot undo math, you feel me? But how it is you are going to delineate your product, or your process of, solving a math problem is you, it's your own culture. You know what I mean? And then when you go somewhere else or somebody else comes around who does math in a different way, you're gonna question the math and not just realize it's a different process of engaging the math.
Your consciousness is a catastrophe. I've sat and watched your brains atrophy naturally. I get tired of the comparisons. Be a king, but don't test my country. Young Selassie, the way I step. Lord to your sovereigns, I teach a class on kingship. A young esquire, a young man with the empire. No Teflon for gunfire. I trust in the necessity of my next breath. You don't see me around too often. I make the imposters put themselves in coffins. Unintentionally, the strength of me precedes itself. If they shine now, before me they melt.
I'm tempted to ask a question, but I think I have a hunch that I know that you're going to flip it. I was going to ask, does the truth want to be found? I think the answer to that is the truth was never missing in the first place, or something like that.
That's your truth. Isn't that amazing? Yo, reality, all that's in reality is the observer. Reality is nothing more than an observer. And I think people make reality very complex. I am the only thing in this world that exists. You are a figment of my imagination. You know what I mean? I remember in some schools I thought, this might not be accurate, but in some schools I thought it was matter is 99.999% empty space. Therefore, all that exists is 0.01% of light. Meaning that me seeing you, smelling you, touching you, hearing you is all different ways in which I perceive light. Meaning that light is the only thing that exists. If matter is 99.9% empty space, that means light is all that you're perceiving. It's just different ways to perceive it. Thus, if you're light and I'm light, we're the same thing and we're perceiving each other in different formulas in different ways. You feel me? Thus, me as the observer, I can never observe through your eyes. I can never have that moment in time when you were 7 years old and you got your butt beat and that made you think a certain way. I can never have that moment to share the same eyes, to see the world the same way. Thus, how it is I see the world is independent. It is its own thing. And how you see the world is independent. Thus, it's your truth. You know what I mean? And to say that there's one truth is to say that we're all not living in our own world.
So balance is important.
That's everything, bro. You cannot have a sunny day without rainy days. You know what I mean? You cannot have weddings and births and birthdays without mass murder. So how could you appreciate a moment of celebration if people wasn't getting their heads taken off? There's no duality in that. How can you call your wife beautiful if you've never called a woman ugly? So what are you comparing her to? You know what I mean? What is the scale in which you're using an adjective in this moment? Duality is all that exists because that gives you the freedom to observe. You know what I mean? My man Will broke it down. Cazador de la Luna, he broke it down amazingly. He said, separation is a falsification. He said it's a false concept of unity. You feel me? Because in order for something to be separate, it has to identify and acknowledge unity, meaning it's not real, because it acknowledges what it isn't. Right? 1 + 1 = 1. It should be no separation. So the fact that we live in a world of separation in which we know all that exists is light, I'm only here so that I'm far away enough to touch myself and appreciate how that felt. You know what I mean? Because separation is a falsification of unity. You know what I mean? Thus we're experiencing unity from a space where we can appreciate ourselves. Love you, bro.
I love you too, bro. We love you.
Absolutely.
And we wish you all the best.
Yes, absolutely.
Only the best and the worst is coming.
Literally, without them, check this out. We wouldn't even be here. Like, we're in a little box because of them. You know what I mean? So you gotta show them love and appreciation. Because without them, I wouldn't be able to be here spending this moment with you, man. And they're the real observer, so they're God in this moment. You know what I mean? So, thank you for allowing me to serve you.
It's a wrap.